so my mom doesn't like me telling this story, but I'm gonna tell it anyways, because it's a little traumatic, but I mean, it is what it is. So, this is the last time I ever got whooped. Okay, so at the time, my mom was dating this guy, right? He was a little bum, but anyways, I digress. And he had a daughter. I hated her. That's the gist of the story. So, she would come over to our house all the time, eating up all our food, being rude, being foul, being goofy. So, I remember my mom had bought some cookies from the dollar store, and the little girl was like, "Can I have some?" And I was like, "No." And then she's like, "Ah!" So she went and told my mom, and my mom was like, "Give her some cookies!" And I was like, "Okay, fine." Give her cookies. I keep giving her cookies. It's one of those generic packs of like the sandwich cookies, and there's like a million of them in there. She ate every single one of them except for like 5. So obviously I got upset, I got mad, and I was like getting mad at her, and she was like, "You're being mean to me!" And I was like, "I'm gonna tell your dad." So she beat me to it. She was like, "I'm gonna go tell my dad." So she was like, "Ah!" And she, with her little gremlin self, ran into like my mom's room and was like, "She's not letting me eat cookies even though I ate them all." And my mom, I don't know why, I think something happened with her and like the girl's dad or something, because she just was like, she came into the room talking about who in here not letting her eat cookies. I was like, me. And I remember I had talked back, and my mom was like, "Who you think you?" And I was like, "Oh, my bad, I was getting beat." So yeah, she just kept whooping me. And then I remember after that, I was like, I'm gonna run away. So I ran away for a little bit. It wasn't even like running away. I packed a backpack and I went outside and walked around my neighborhood. That's all I did. And then I came back home. But as I was coming back home, my mom, the little girl, my brother was like, "Where are you? She told me you was running away." I looked at her and I almost lit her on fire. It's part 3 to that motherfucking gremlin. Okay, so after I got done, running away or whatever, I literally come back home, and at this point in time, it's like nighttime now, everything's settled down. She comes up to me, I'm laying down on the ground just chilling watching TV. She comes up on top of me, over me, and was like, "Ha ha, you got beat, your mom got, and I was like, and then she thought she had a point. She said something I cannot remember. And she was like, as she was leaving, and as she was like about to as she was turning around walking away, I don't know what possessed me to like grab her by her fucking legs and pull. So she was like, "Aha, you got," and she just fell on her fucking face. And then I got up, and I got over on top of her, and I was like, "Can you shut the fuck up? I hate you." And then she cried herself to sleep. We still cool now. We cool now.
This is the story of how I slept with one of my teachers. And I've never told anybody about it until now, besides the one other person who actually saw it happen. Back in high school, my math teacher was a gorgeous girl in her mid-20s. She had long brown hair and beautiful hazel eyes. She wore glasses, so it was kind of hard to tell. Regardless, she was stunning. At my school, during lunch, they had tutor sessions. Everyone who went to the school went to lunch at the same time, unless you were being tutored, obviously. I had to go to tutoring a lot in math class because I was not good at it. I was good at every other subject, math just wasn't for me. Anyway, one day I was getting tutored and things went completely different from normal. First being was I was the only other person besides the teacher in the class. No one else had a tutor session that day. This was the first time that I was in there alone with her. Before she could teach me anything about math, she started crying. Of course, I went to go give her some comfort. This is when she told me that her husband cheated on her. And after I told her I was sorry and she deserved better, she started kissing me. Eventually, she stripped me and sat me down on her desk, got on top of me and started writing. And this is when the lunch bell rang and another student came in the room. Many more would have called us if this kid didn't save us. Part 2's crazy.
Do you guys ever experience pain? Do you just hate it? Well, I don't. And that's because I'm the opposite of that. I'm a masochist, and us masochists love pain. Like, a lot of pain. Although there's no need for you to judge me because I've got a good reason to back that up. It all started on one beautiful day when I was alone in my room. I was just reading a book and suddenly my older sister Nancy barged in. She started yelling at me. "I thought I told you to stop wearing my clothes." I just shrugged it off and said, "Why don't you find some different clothes and stop being a baby?" She got really angry at my words, so she walked up to me and slapped my face. She then walked out of my room and slammed the door. God, that hurt like hell. But I wasn't crying or anything. I just felt a tingling sensation on my face. I didn't understand what had happened to me, so I decided to give it a test drive. I planned on making my sister angry again to test my theory. So I went to her room without her permission. As soon as she saw me, she screamed, "What are you doing in my room? Get out!" I didn't reply. I just grabbed her homework that she was working on and ripped it to shreds. She was horrified at what I did. She then slapped my face twice in a row. I was smiling at her. She looked confused and then she said, "What is up with you? Doesn't that hurt you?" I quickly replied, "Surprisingly, no, it doesn't." Then I walked out of her room. I didn't understand this love of pain, so I decided to search it up on Google, and then I found it. It's called a masochist. Is that what I am? I thought to myself. But it continued to happen. I was making myself some hot chocolate in the microwave. When it was done, I grabbed it. The cup was hot, but instead of screaming, I just giggled and enjoyed the burning sensation on my skin. My mom showed up and said, "Sweetie, please use a mitten, it's still hot." I didn't care. I loved feeling the burn. Later, I accidentally broke a vase that belonged to my grandma. My dad rushed in, and when he saw the broken vase, he was furious. He told me to face the wall. He grabbed his belt and whipped my behind. He hit me really hard, but fortunately for me, it felt so good. It even low-key turned me on. Okay, but what did you expect? I'm a masochist. But I kept it a secret from my family because they wouldn't understand. But I did tell my best friend Brianna about my secret. She didn't believe me at first though, so I told her to step on my feet to confirm it. When she did, I kind of moaned, although it wasn't too loud because I didn't want anyone to hear me. She was surprised and wondered how it was possible. Then, there was this one time in a cafeteria, there's this girl named Susie. She's the meanest girl in school. She thinks she's so popular, but newsflash, no one cares. She was mocking my friend Brianna. I walked up to her and I threw my tray on her. She was covered in all of my food. She got really mad and attacked me. She pushed me to the ground and she started choking me. I could barely breathe, but I was just enjoying myself because of how this girl was able to squeeze me so tight. Brianna was trying to push her away, but suddenly, without thinking, I blurted out, "Choke me harder." Everyone heard what I said loud and clear. Then Susie let go of my throat and stood up. "You're insane," she said. Then she walked off. Later, the principal called me and Susie to his office because one of the teachers told him about the fight and what everyone had heard me say. He called my parents over to discuss what had happened and even showed them what I just said. My parents looked shocked. Then the principal cleared his throat and asked me why I said all that stuff. So I decided to tell them the truth. So I told my parents that I'm a masochist and what I've been doing to get a thrill from feeling pain. I thought they were going to get mad, but they understood. They even told me that when my grandma was my age, she was a masochist too. So that's where I got it from. So they accepted me for who I was. I'm 25 years old and I live with my boyfriend in an apartment. My mother has been in a coma for almost 2 years now. She was in a car accident and I'm just thankful that she survived. My dad and I are still hoping that she would wake up one day and we could all live together again. I work as a lawyer secretary while my boyfriend Pump is a software developer, so he usually works overtime and there are even times when he wouldn't come home for a couple of days when they had a deadline to beat. We've been together for almost a year now, and even though our lovemaking tends to be boring at times, I don't have much to complain about because he's such a wonderful boyfriend. One day, I got a call from Dad. "Hey, Princess, the house needs major repairs, and I was wondering if I could sleep in your place for a week or so. If not, I can just check in at a hotel or something," he said. "Dad, what are you talking about? Of course you could stay here. I'm sure that my boyfriend would understand," I replied. I have been living on my own since I turned 18, and I kind of miss having my parents around because it was actually fun. I visit my mom at the hospital at least 3 times a week, but Dad goes there every single day. He goes straight to the hospital from the bank right across the street where he works as an accountant. When he got home from the hospital, he would cook dinner. After dinner, he would watch TV before saying goodnight. On his last day in our apartment, something weird happened. I was bending over the oven to get the cookies that I baked some minutes ago when I heard a camera shutter go off. When I turned around, my dad